guys, welcome back. We're going to be jumping into green for this video. After this, we've got two more. We've got the multicolor and then colorless and lands, and that's it. So we're getting really close to finishing it up. And let's go ahead and start. We have the Augur of Autumn. It is a 2/3 for 3 mana, colorless green, and you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands from the top of your library. Yes, I love these types of cards. In Limited, they're amazing. And with Coven, if you have 3 creatures with different powers, you may cast creatures from the top of your library. What the fudge sickles? This does everything.
Yeah. This card's great.
Even if it didn't have the Coven ability, I'm hyped about it.
Yeah, remind people of Corsair Crufix. But with that Coven ability, that's great.
This is amazing. I am stoked about this. This is a 4?
I think it's a 4. Being 3 toughness is rough. With the 3 damage spells we've seen.
But it does a lot.
Is a card. This is the card that if it gets removed, there's a pretty good chance it's left nothing behind if it gets removed right away. But
unless you play it on 3 and hit your, or on 4 and hit the land or whatever.
Yeah. But that being said, it's still a very good card. Just generates value turn after turn. Or
you're playing it on turn 8 or 9, and you're just like, play this, play my creature, or play my land, or play a land off the top and to a creature. And then you're just like, holy smokes, it's done a ton of work, and then gets removed on your opponent's upkeep, or, first main phase. So I feel like it has the ability to leave a lasting effect, as long as you play it when your opponent has no mana. Always make sure you don't play your land first.
Yes, for sure.
Pretty key, guys. All right. I like it. I'm in. It's a 4. All right. This is one of the ones we looked at before. Bird Admirer. It's a 1/4 with reach for 3 mana. It's a pretty basic rate that we typically see. And when it becomes night, it's a 3/5 with reach, which is a good size spider body. I mean, this is pretty typical. It just does, it does the 3 mana reacher and it does the 5 mana reacher at night. So you just get a nice discount on that backside.
Yeah, this card is not even overcasted on the or overcosted on the front end.
No.
3 mana 1/4 reach we play all the time.
You just get to upgrade it for free at night into what was normally the 5 mana spider, right? We typically see a 3/5 mana spider.
Yeah, for sure.
So normally, I think that the little spider and the other spider are usually both playable on their own. This just makes it cheaper, fills your curve, and gives you the better side of it. So this just feels like a 3 to me.
Agreed. I have it as a 3.
All right. Bounding Wolf, 3 mana, 3/2 with flash and reach. It's cute.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why the wolf has reach, but
it jumps really high.
Apparently.
I saw a video of a dog that ran up the side of a house and then jumps higher than the house and gets a ball that's hanging off the a stick on the roof, and then seriously jumps the distance of the house and gets caught by its owner. That's what this does. This is that dog. Oh my god, someone said Barcore. Oh my god. I like you. We get to be friends. That was worth saying out loud. I appreciate you very much. We're taking too much time on this vanilla-ish creature. I like that it's flash. It lets you do some beats. It could just flash in and trade up. It could flash in and just keep the aggro going. This is like a 2/5/3.
Yeah, we saw some 1-power flying spirits on the back that this could eat on the back half of Disturb cards. So yeah, I like this card.
I like the Omnom Wolf. All right, Bramble Armor. This sounds familiar. Is this a reprint?
Don't think so, but it does sound.
Is there another card that says Bramble on it that I'm just confusing it for? Probably.
Possibly. There are a few Bramble cards.
2 mana for an equipment. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control for free, and it's +2/+1. Equip 4. That's awfully expensive, but you get that first equip for free, which is kind of a big deal. again, not great, but it makes it so that way, like, you get that initial bit, and then by the time that creature dies or whatever, you're likely to have a little bit more mana. I still don't like it, but, I mean, it's borderline playable. It's like a 1/5/2. If you don't have enough playables, if you switched in the middle of pack 2, it's probably going to see some play.
Yeah, it will, although I'll be pretty unhappy if I have to play this card. I'm right in the same range as you.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it attaches right away is often very useful in the aggressive decks. We saw this before with the other +2/+0 equipment, that oftentimes you're just getting in for extra damage. But because this gives a little toughness, and your werewolves are usually very big anyway, so you're not super worried about blocking, this just makes it even harder for them to do so. I think it will see some play in those aggressive decks, but not happy about it. Briarbridge Tracker, 2/3 for 3 mana with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you investigate. It replaces itself with a clue token automatically, which is really nice. And as long as you control a token, clue token counts, it gets +2/+0, becomes a 4/5 for 3 mana, 4/3 for 5 mana. Oh, motherfucker, you know what I mean. A 4/3 for 3 mana. Thank you. I'll get it eventually. We'll get there, which is great. And then eventually when, you know, like let's say you can't attack and it, you know, into their 3/2 or whatever, you don't care if it has the +2, you just crack the clue, get a card, be happy. Card's great.
Yeah, I like this card. I think there are way too many people out there comparing it to Tireless Tracker, probably just because it has a clue and it has Tracker in its name and it costs 3 mana.
Tireless Tracker's the one that got a thing every turn for a bunch of mana, right?
Every time you played a land, you got a clue.
Okay.
And then when you cracked a clue, it got +1/+. It got a +1/+1 counter.
Okay, that's not the card I thought it was, but yes. I mean, this doesn't seem outrageously powerful to me, but it seems good. It's like a 3/5 or more.
Yeah, it's free. It replaces itself effectively.
Yeah.
And it's gonna, with all the tokens we've seen, it's gonna be a 4/3 more often than not. It feels like.
Yep, for sure. Brood Weaver, 4 mana Reacher for a 2/4. When it dies, create a spider token with Reach. I like this.
Yeah, without the death trigger, we'd probably play a decent number of green decks would play a 4 mana 2/4 Reach just as a way to deal with flyers.
Especially in this format with a lot more spirits and little 1/1 pesky guys. A lot of the
Disturb.
Well, a lot of the Disturb cards were better on the front side and then just kind of made 2/1 poop flyers, which are going to be really annoying. Don't get me wrong. 2/1 flyers can close out games if you don't have a spider like this. So I actually really like this a fair amount. I could also see cutting it and boarding it in often, or playing 1 and having an extra in your board. Be pretty happy to have. But this is fine. It's a 2/5, 3 even with the death trigger.
A little higher on it. I'm at like a 3.
There's an abnormal amount of flyers in the format, so I could definitely see that. All right, Burly Breaker, a 6/5 for 5 with Ward 1. Daybound, at night it turns into a 8/7 Ward 3 for 5 mana. Seems good.
Yeah, 5 mana 6/5, fine. 5 mana 8/7 better, and Ward is just nice bonus, particularly on the backside. The Ward 1 is, you know, about a 5 drop. They're probably going to be able to find a way to pay 1 to kill it, but Ward 3 is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, even Ward 1 will catch him off guard sometimes. It's definitely not a 0 bonus. I think I like that maybe a little bit more than you do. This feels like a 3 to me.
Yeah, I think so. Just not having any sort of combat keyword is unfortunate. Like, you just feels like it's going to get chump blocked a lot.
Yeah.
The only reason I don't have it higher than a 3.
All right, the next card is a 5/5 for 5 mana with Coven. So if you control those 3 different powered minions, it gains trample until end of turn. I mean, I like 5 mana 5/5s. I played that 5 mana 5/5 vanilla elf in Kaldheim like a ton, and it actually is like big enough to just smush people. So the trample could be relevant with how wide and small the format is. I like that it's just not getting chumped all the time. Human is a relevant key term. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think green is good. Green to me is going to be the easiest color to get Coven in. because like white, we saw every creature except for one back half of a disturbed card was 0, 1, 2, or 3 power. So it's going to be a little harder to get 3 different ones, but we've already seen a 6 and an 8 and a 5 on green, so I think it's going to be easier to get Coven in green.
I agree. I like this card at like a 2/5.
Yeah, I think so. 2/5 seems about right compared to what we've been looking at.
Clear Shot, 3 mana, target creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So this is a punch at instant speed, which I always like. Punchy punch. We're punching stuff.
Great. The flavor is perfect. You give your creature this big bow, which gives it more power, and then you shoot something from far away and it can't hit you back.
And it's instant speed, which is something we've been seeing on the green fight and punch spells, which we don't typically see, which makes me bump it up a little bit. Usually I'm a little low on them because you get 2 for 1 a little bit easier, but I think this is a 3/5 at instant speed.
Yeah, I think this probably is green's premium removal. We haven't
I think so.
seen all the cards yet.
It's also the uncommon, which makes it a lot better. The +1/+1 might even make it maybe even a 4.
Yeah, but I think I have it as a 4.
It's hard to compare this to the 4s in red and black, right? Like those are just way better.
Yeah, that's always tricky.
Yeah, but again, this is green's premium. It doesn't get better than this, so it's it's in that weird ballpark of like technically it's a 4 based on our like scale, but like our other 4 removals are just way better.
Yeah, I think that 4 ends up having a pretty big range even within it.
Yeah. Consuming Blob. It is a 5 mana ooze. Its power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that amount +1. So we have a little Tarmogoyf.
It's Tarmogoyf, yeah. 5 mana Tarmogoyf.
A lot more mana. At the beginning of your end step, create a green ooze token. This creature's power is equal to the number of card types. Whoa. It makes more Tarmogoyfs each turn?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah, this card seems pretty nuts.
Whoa. Now, it is not like a pack rat. So those oozes don't have this ability, or like a scuttle crab or scuttle bug or whatever that stupid fuck's name is. But it's still insane. There is an Evolving Wilds in this format. Make sure you draft your Evolving Wilds if you pack one, pick one. This.
Yeah, I think the expectation on the power toughness here is that it probably, for most of the time, it's going to cap out at 3/4. Creature, instant, sorcery. Because Evolving Wilds is likely the main way to get lands into the graveyard. That being said, you do have some self-mill in blue, and some looting effects and some rummage effects.
It's not a surveil.
And surveil type cards. So yeah, you can find other ways to get, that will get a land in particular into your graveyard. A little harder to get.
I mean, even if it's just a creature in an instant, right? It's a 2/3, and it makes a 2/3 every turn. I'm fine with this. This is fine. I like that it's at end step, so even if it gets removed on your opponent's turn, you've still made a thing, so it leaves something on the battlefield. I'm actually kind of fine to just call this a 5.
I think so as well, mainly because there are a number of ways to get stuff into the graveyard. If it was consistently going to be a 2/3, then I might drop it down a little bit, but I think you are going to see 3/4, 4/5 with this because of those surveil and self-mill themes.
Yeah, and even without it, just getting a free body every turn is nuts. So good. All right. A X and green spell. When it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it with Coven, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control at the beginning of your end step for Coven, which is usually before combat, or we've seen Covens that you can activate any time. This is an end step activation, which means you can activate it the turn it comes out, which is pretty cool. And because it's an X spell, it means that you can like do Coven, like it itself can be very flexible. Maybe you're not maxing this out because you want to have Coven. Like if you have a 4/4 and 5 mana, you maybe just cast this for X is 3, right? To try to like activate that, because it will then pay for itself by putting that +1/+1 counter on the other creature or whatever. Yeah,
we've seen things like this, like Ivy Elemental, the first part of this card before. the flexibility in these X green cards for XX is really nice, and the fact that you could put that counter anywhere helps ensure you continue to have more options for Coven. Like you can spread it around, so if something dies, you still have it.
Did you mean to use the word flexibility with this card?
Why? Oh, yes. I guess I didn't, but I'll take it.
I like these cards. I think this is a 3/5 actually. I really like that Coven ability. It's going to build up really well over time. I like the flexibility. I like that you can play it early if you need to. It makes your deck draw much smoother the more types of cards that you have like this. So I'm always very happy to have them.
Yeah, I think this is great on its own, and it's great to enable your other Coven cards.
Dawnheart Mentor, an 0/4 for 3. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human. And with Coven, so at any time you can activate it for 6 mana. Target creature you control gets +5/+5 and gains, or +3/+3, gains trample. Why is my numbers all messed up today? Until end of turn. Activate only if you control 3 creatures with different powers. That's an expensive mana sink.
It is an expensive mana sink. It does give you 2 of the 3 power you need for Coven on its own.
Yes, but
which is nice.
An expensive mana sink. You're not activating it more than once. I like this as like a sideboard card almost. Unless you've got a lot of other Covens that want to be activated, you could play this, assuming that you're going to be getting the value from the other Covens, and this is just like a late game thing. But on its own, if you're not activating Coven all that regularly with other things, I don't really like it.
Yeah, I think this card just doesn't do enough. There are scenarios where that ability is...
other Covens, I'm running it.
Yeah, I'd actually be surprised if I play this much at all unless I'm desperate.
You're never going to play green creatures. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, if I open a Consuming Blob, I kind of have to play green, so...
The question is will I play this? I'm far more likely to play Selesnya Coven deck.
Wait, Selesnya is allowed in Magic?
Yes, it is.
Why would you do that? You don't get to draw cards, counter spells, kill things. You don't do any of the fun things.
Yeah, you get dudes and you smush them with your dudes. Turn shit 90. Dawnheart.
I do that too, but it's only my lands.
God, I hate when I play Constructed and people, their only win con is a land. It's so tilting. Oh my god. Dawnheart Rejuvenator.
Why would you make a win con your land? You make your win con making them quit.
Dawnheart Rejuvenator, 4 mana, 4/2. When it enters the battlefield, whatever, gain life, add some mana. I hate mana dorks that cost 4 mana. At that point, I don't care about the mana. This is medium at best. It does add any color, so it's a fixer. I'm running it with a splash. Probably not running it otherwise.
Yeah, you see the occasional format, like I'm thinking particularly like Hour of Devastation Amonkhet that had a 4 mana mana dork that was actually like the best green card in the set. But 95% of the time they're just too overcosted. Ramping from 4 to 6 isn't usually that useful.
2.
Yep.
Great. Death Bonnet Sprout. It is a fungus, a 1 for a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Then, if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you can transform the Sprout. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you may exile a card from your graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, put a +1/+1 on the Hulk. Well, I mean, if you play it late, it's just going to transform into a 1 mana 3/3.
Yeah,
it's bigger if you have no way to recur stuff.
Yep, and then it'll get bigger. It's also an enabler for any other sort of self-built themes if you have a lot of disturb cards in your deck. This card's kind of low impact, but I actually kind of like it because it doesn't ask you much and it can enable other things.
Yeah, I just don't feel that it enables things all that well. Still feels kind of medium. Like if you're doing your dispute cards and you're not removing it with this thing, which means this thing's not getting its value, it is kind of low impact for me. I think it's going to be like one of those borderline playables in most decks, like a 2.
Yeah, I think it's a 2. I just think most 1-drops are not that good. Plus, you gotta love the art on this card. It's 1 mushroom, so it's a 1/1. Then there's 3 mushrooms, so it's a 3/3.
I did not notice that. Cute. I don't like 1-drops most of the time. I avoid them.
No, I agree with that.
All right, 4 mana instant speed spell. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 creatures you control. Ooh. Like, it's expensive. I understand this. But a lot of times when you have that aggressive deck, your opponent, or at least I always do, when I make my blocks, I'm like, okay, I'm going to block in such a way where it's good for them in one trade, but it can't be good for them in both trades because I'm assuming they have a combat trick here. So I'll block in a way that's like double good, knowing that like one of my things is going to get eaten, right? And then you have like a 1-for-1. But then this trick, and then you just get them on all fronts. And it's a lasting permanent on the board, like it leaves those those counters. Any sort of combat trick that does that, I'm a really big fan of. It's very expensive, so I'm not running this often. I'm definitely not running a lot of them, but I like it.
I actually really like this card. Combat tricks generally carry that inherent 2-for-1 risk, but at least in this case, that's balanced out by the fact that it can generate a 2-for-1 on the other going the other way as well, or even a 3-for-1.
Yanks. Blink twice if you need help. Is there someone there with you?
Like you said, it leaves permanent counters, which is another reason why this is better than a typical combat trick, and it's a great Coven enabler.
Chat, do you think we should send a rescue party? It's not even blue. Dryad's Revival, 3 mana for a sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard with flashback. So this is actually a card advantage. Usually green is just like kind of dead even and we're not happy about it. I don't usually run these unless I've got a couple of really, really good cards that will like bump the quality of this. If I'm getting like, you know, a schmuck 3/3 or something, 2 schmuck 3/3s, it's not good. Did I say it all wrong?
No.
What do you think, Yanks?
No,
Flashback makes it fine, but...
Yeah, not excited about it, although this does twice let me buy back counters from my graveyard, so that's nice.
And he's back.
I just had to reestablish myself there.
The robber has left the building. He heard we were sending help and he left. All right, 2/5? 2?
Yeah. I think it's between a 2 and a 2/5. It gets better, like you said. The better, if you have bombs, then this card gets better.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Duel for Dominance. 1 and a green instant with Coven. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, put a +1/+1 counter on the chosen creature you control. Then the chosen creatures fight each other.
Okay, so this is just a fight, but if you have Coven, it turns into what is typically a 4 mana spell in that it gives you a +1/+1 counter, and it's at instant speed, which oftentimes that's a sorcery as well. Sometimes we get sorcery speed 4 mana. Now that's a little older. The last couple of fights in the last few sets have been better than this, to be fair. But it's usually 4 mana, sorcery speed, +1/+1, and fight. This is just way better.
It is. I'm pausing because I just really don't like the way this is worded. I think this is going to lead to a lot of rules confusion in paper.
I wish that it separated it. I wish it said 2 mana instant speed fight, and then Coven if you do the thing, put a +1/+1 counter. Like, I don't know why they chunk it into one big text, because I skim and I miss a lot of things. So like, I do feel like it's written in a way that makes it just abnormally complicated for no reason at all, but whatever.
I think people are going to think that they can remove your Coven in response and that this won't do anything.
Yes,
which is
we've seen that
true.
in a card recently too. Or they'll like think it's opposites or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is weird.
That being said, ignoring the rules confusion part of this card, 2 mana instant speed fight spell even without the Coven.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, and just with that ability makes it even better.
All right, 3/5.
Yeah.
All right. A 3/2 for 3. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. You may return a land from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. Kind of neat. It's kind of creepy. It's like a farmer feeding a giant centipede. If you have other graveyard enablers or the dead cards, we're kind of happy to have this. Otherwise, it's just a filler card, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you want this to be enabling something else in order
To be happy about
to really
it, right?
want this card. But if you have to play it, it's fine.
It's a 2. It's an at-rate creature when you need 3 drops.
Yep.
All right. We have a 3/1 for 2, pretty normal. And if you have Coven at the beginning of your combat, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So it's likely to trade up if you have Coven reliably.
Yeah, I don't mind this card. The Coven mitigates the typical risk of 3/1s of trading with a 1/1 token or running into a 1/4.
But that said, I still am usually not a fan of 3/1s that are like mostly vanilla. So this is still to me just filler for 2.
It's filler. Yeah, I agree. Green doesn't appear to be the hyper-aggressive deck either, like red-white.
Yeah. Oh, who's a good boy? That's such a good doge. All right, we got a Hound Tamer, guys. 3 mana, 3/3 Trampler for 4 mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on any target creature. I like that. That's a nice little late game mana sink. It's a 3/3 for 3 with Trample by itself. I'm already excited. And then at night, it becomes a 4/4 Trampler. Other wolves and werewolves. I did notice that there were wolves, and I was like, "Oh, it's a shame they're not werewolves. They're not going to get counted." But it looks like they are for a lot of things. They also have Trample. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Yeah, this card's great for an uncommon. This is a bomb.
Yeah, you're gonna have to kill this card because it's just gonna make everything else bigger threats. 4 mana is a lot, but that's fine. If you never activate the ability, you've still gotten your mana's worth out of this card. So
yes, a 3 mana 3/3 Trampler I'm already fine with. I feel like that's already like a 3 on its own. And then this flip, or then putting a counter makes it a 3/5. It flipping and being even stronger and having more synergy. Like, this is a 4 for me.
I think I still have it as a 3/5 just because it doesn't leave anything lasting if it dies right away, and it's easy to kill a 3/3. But you've only invested 3 mana at that, so you're still going to be happy with it. I just don't think it gets quite to the same level.
Yeah, if it had a lasting effect, it'd be even higher for me. Like, that's when you start to get to the 4.5s and 5s usually. I'm really high on this, and he's super cute.
Can't deny that.
Oh, and look at the little pack. All right, Howl of the Hunt, 3 mana flash enchant creature. Howl of the Hunt enters a battlefield. Enchant creature is a werewolf. If enchant creature is a werewolf, untap that creature. It gets +2/+2 and a vigilance. It's a flash. I actually like these. If you use them in a safe spot and you kill a creature with it, you're not getting 2 for 1.
Yeah, I think this card's okay. The fact that you can untap things, means you can really ambush someone.
Yep. Now you do have to use it as in a solid safe spot. I wouldn't just like tempo curve this out for like aggressive beats. I like to use this more as a combat trick that like gets a creature and then they still have to answer it and it leaves you in a strong spot. But I mean, I think this is like a 2/5. I'm playing one of these probably.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we saw cards, and this is going back fairly far in I think it was the original Theros, Feral Invocation.
Yes.
Was the card.
Picture of an elf with 2 blades on it.
Didn't do the untap portion of this, but the 3 mana +2/+2. And that card was pretty playable there, so
Yeah.
This is just better.
If you ambush a creature with this as a combat trick, and then it's just a big creature that they cannot deal with, or even if they do, it's not a 2-for-1, we're happy. All right, Might of the Old Ways, 2-mana instant, gets +2/+2. Coven, if you control blah, 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 blah. Replace itself. Hello. Hello, combat trick.
Yeah, this is a good card. +2/+2 for 2 is not exactly what you want, but
usually you untap or do something else.
Yeah.
So this has the draw, I think, in its place, and I think that's slightly better.
It is. I agree. I mean, it doesn't change your downside risk of combat tricks, but it's a better upside.
Yes, 2/5.
Yep.
All right, Outland Liberator, 2/2 for 2. Pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy target artifact or enchantment with Daybound. Same enchantment artifact ability for a 3/3. When it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Oh, so it's going to get rid of all the sleeps and the white enchantment thingies. This is a great bear. I like this card a lot.
Yeah, I really like this card. Anytime you can get this sort of incidental artifact enchantment removal is just great. You know, especially in a best of one world that we live in a lot of cases now.
Yeah, we do live in that best of one world. I think this is good. I'm gonna give this a 3.
Yeah, I'm just a 3. I think if we had more targets that we were worried about, I think this would be even higher, but yeah, there's not a huge amount.
It says artifact or enchantment. We did see 2 blue lockdowns. We saw a white lockdown. We also saw one of each like equipment in each color. Plus there was like those weird door artifacts that were like drawing a card each turn. There's the red rare that we were like, holy shit, this is insane. Draws a card every turn and like blows people up. This is going to be just a solid curve filler that like cleans up any of those weird things that might catch you off guard. And I love those sort of abilities.
Agreed.
So flexible, it comes in handy a lot more than you would expect. And unlike Ooze, where it's like an ETB effect, you know what I'm talking about? The
acidic slime?
Yeah, that one. You don't have to like hold on to it. You could just curve out, and then if they kill it, then no harm, no foul. They might not need it anyway. Path to the Festival, 3-mana sorcery. Search your library for a basic land, put that onto the battlefield tap. Then, if there are 3 or more land types among lands you control, scry 1 with flashback. Only 1 mana? This is my least favorite of the bunch.
Yeah, I think you're only really playing this card if you're really looking to enable a splash or a full-on third color.
Yep, I agree. It has flashback, but it's so expensive. Usually you get 2 cards, it thins your deck. This is a 1-for-1 that's kind of expensive. And then later, when you get to 5 mana, I probably don't want the land anyway, so. Pestilence Wolf, 2 mana, 2/2. It gains Death Touch until end of turn for 3 mana. Yeah, it's a kind of an expensive thing. It's a lot of mana. Trades up, but costs a lot.
Yeah, this is so much worse than like the 1 mana vampire we saw, because at least the threat of activation there probably meant you won the combat. Here, threat of activation means you're just trading.
Like, I would be happier with what we typically see, which is at 2 mana, a 1/2, or a 2/2 with Death Touch that is 3 mana. Either of those options I like better. This just makes you have to have that mana open weirdly, and oftentimes when you need it, you won't have it. And then you're just sad about it, and yeah, it's awkward. So I'd rather have either of the 2 typical options that are either more expensive or less power, and just have Death Touch naturally. So I think it's like a 2/5. I'm gonna give it a 2/5 because I think Death Touch is a pretty good option. It's just a bare 2 anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm down at 2.
Plummet, sideboard card. Sometimes, like in the last set, you can get away with playing plummets because there's so many dragons and stuff, but I feel like there's not enough high impact flyers. A lot of them are small, and I'd much rather just like run a spider over this.
Yeah, this is just a sideboard card.
Yep, put it in your board. 4/3 for 3 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 any number of times. When you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on them. and up to that many target lands become wolves. 3/3 wolves. Okay. This is nuts.
Yeah, I mistakenly thought this whole cycle was 2 drops. In this case, it's a 3 drop. This might be the best of them, to be honest, because those don't become wolves until end of turn.
No, they're permanent, and those lands were likely already in play, so you could attack with them hypothetically if you have it.
Well, they get haste anyway.
Oh, they all get haste as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is good.
I mean, it's a 3-mana 4/3 trample, which is already good, or it's a 5-mana 5/4 plus a 3/3.
Yeah, and it's leaving that lasting creature, and a 3/3 is nothing to
Every 2 mana you spend is adding 4 power to the board.
Yes.
1 to this plus another body.
And once you split it onto a second body, it becomes more into that bomb territory because it can't just be answered immediately. You're getting a lot of extra value.
Yeah, now could this suck if they then burn down the house and blow up some of your lands? Well, yeah, but so playing a bunch of creatures and have those get blown up as well.
I mean,
that's the risk of a sweeper.
This is a wolf. He's the one that does the blowing down of the house. You got it backwards, Yanks.
Yes.
5?
Yeah, I think so.
Return
because even that downside risk of the sweeper, right? Say it kills 2 of your lands. You've spent 7. That means you already have 7 mana out. If you lose 2 lands, you live with it.
And that's a 1-for-1 on a sweeper is still great.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, or we're never going to finish. Return to nature. 2 mana, choose 1, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or exile a card from our graveyard. Yeah, this is like 23rd playable if you don't have a ton, because I think the graveyard effect, between the 3, you're going to find a target. It's not great, but...
Yeah, this is main deckable here, but not exciting.
Yeah.
Rather keep it in my sideboard if I can.
Definitely. If you're light on playables, if it's easy cuts, then, I mean, sometimes I have literally 23 cards, or even 20, and I'm just like desperate for anything. That happens. So that's when you're going to play this, and it's fine. Sometimes you'll get lucky and get something really good at it, like, it'll get good value, but you'll always get something, I think. If it didn't have the graveyard clause, I would not run it.
Agreed.
Rise of the Ants, 6 mana, create 2 3/3 insect creatures. You gain 2 life with flashback for 8, which is actually not that bad. You kind of get 4 bodies here over a long time, which is nice for board stalls. 3/3s are pretty decent.
Yeah, those are large insect tokens.
They are. It's expensive. I think this is a 2/5.
Yeah, I think so. 6 mana for 6 powers. On top, this is fine.
Like, I'm happy with the 8 bonus. Like, it's not overly expensive because it's free. But, I mean, a lot of games will just be decided before that happens. So.
Yeah, that's like a 2/5.
Awesome. The Viper's Fang. 4 mana for a 3/4. Other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. Spicy. I like this little Gorgon human-y character. Other untapped creatures you control have Hexproof. Ooh. Pay 1, untap a target creature you control or a land you control. Wow.
So I really wish those first 2 abilities were reversed, but that would probably make it too good. I don't really care that my tapped guys have Death Touch. I guess attacking, but I generally think of Death Touch as much more of a defensive ability.
Well, so this is sort of like Talisman, right? It turns all of your little weenie things into aggressive threats that they have to trade down to, and the stuff you want to protect, you just sit on, and they can't actually interact with it, which is really nice. I think I like it in the way that it is.
Yeah, I do like the being able to protect one of your creatures effectively by paying 1 by giving it instant speed hexproof.
Yes, but I mean, likely this is the thing that they want to kill anyway. So it's going to be rare that you have a creature out that's better than this.
True.
So that doesn't do quite as much. I feel like this is a 4. It's not going to win the game on its own. You got to have a pretty high creature count. You got to have things worth protecting with hexproof. It is a 3/4 for 4, which is fine, but like, it's just going to die often.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Doesn't leave something when it dies if it gets killed. So I think you got it about right.
If they don't happen to have removal, yeah, it's going to be good value,
Yep.
which gives it that 4 marker. All right, 4 mana for a sorcery. Create a 4/4 beast with flashback. I like 4 mana 4/4s.
Yeah, card's really good. Very simple.
3/5.
But yeah, it's 3/5. You're on rate, and you get to do it again later.
Snarling Wolf, 1/1 for 1. Gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Activate only once per turn. It's fine.
I'm not interested.
I think I'm interested if I have Wolf synergies. It's +2/+2 is cheap enough at 2 mana that I could see decks that I'm running this, but I'm not, like, it's not something I'm actively looking for in the average deck, but I could see this getting some play.
If you have Wolf synergies, I agree. I'm starting to see that I think, especially with Flashback, there are a lot of mana sinks in this format. So I don't want to have a card that's only valuable if I have an extra 2 mana to activate. Now, if you have those Wolf synergies, then sure.
Yeah, this feels similar to, I mean, it doesn't have haste, obviously, but there was that other one from the last set that got +2/+2. You could only do it once. So it was a 2/2 for 2 that had like a, sort of similar feel. Now when you activated it, it became a 4/4 and got haste. So I think it's like a bit better, but it also didn't have the werewolf stuffs. So, I mean, that one overperformed a little bit for me. I died to that way more than I thought I would, and I was sad about it.
That card did overperform, but there's a big difference between a 2/2 for 2 and a 1/1 for 1.
I absolutely agree. But if you have anything that does the stuff, like give them Death Touch or wolves get +2/+0 and some other nonsense, then it's like fine.
Yeah, if you have the synergies, then that's fine.
Yeah, I have it at a 1/5 in the average deck, but
okay. Yeah, that's fair.
It's gonna see play, but not often. I'm very low on 1-drops generally. Most formats, I will not play a single 1-drop.
Yeah, I think we're in the same area then.
It's just, I feel like this is one that will actually maybe cross that threshold for me from time to time, which is very rare. I see a lot of viewers are like, oh, you need a good curve, you need 1 or 2 1-drops, and I'm like, no, nope. No, stop. Storm the Festival, a 6 mana, 3 green for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put up to 2 permanent cards with mana value 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order with flashback. Expensive.
It's very expensive and very awkward mana cost.
It's like,
but you are probably going to get value out of it.
It's like a thick cocoa.
Yeah.
It's like a fat, heavy, slow cocoa.
That's a sorcery.
That's a sorcery. It's slow. I told you, so it's fat and slow. Yeah. 6 for 10 value? Well, if you happen to have exactly 10 value in the top 5, you could have like a land, a 2-drop, a pump spell, and a removal spell, and then what? You spent a shit ton of mana for a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah. You're going to want a higher curve deck, which, is not always what you want in general, to play this card. I think this card's playable, but it's going to whiff sometimes, and that's going to feel real bad.
Certainly. I'm not in love with this card. I think it's like, I never play these. Wasn't there a green one in AFR? I don't think I ever cast that card. There was some green rare that got you some sort of like marginal card advantage for 6 or more mana.
Yeah. Trying to remember the name of it, and I'm blanking.
I'm going to call this a 2. It's a borderline playable if you don't have anything else. Tapping the window. I think there are some decks that'll be a little better, but I think you're right. It's probably a 2 on average. Tapping the window. 2
long, was you thinking of Long Rest?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It sucked, whatever it was. Tapping the window, guys. 2 mana sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature from among them, put that into your hand, and then put the rest into the graveyard. Okay, so this is like a black-green deck that wants like shit in the graveyard. Black,
or
green, white.
Blue-green. Something with a bunch of disturb cards potentially as well.
Green-white would be okay with this. But again, it's like The fact that it's flashback means that you get a little bit of card advantage over 2, which is, not great, but if you have disturb cards where you're likely going to, or flashbacks where you're going to likely put something in your graveyard that's usable, that's a fair amount of card value. This feels almost like split rating. If it's just a creature beats deck with no graveyard interaction, I'm not playing this.
Yeah, cards like this, now granted, a lot of times they're 1 mana, sometimes just make it as the 23rd card in that deck, because it gives you a little selection, gives you something you probably want. And in this case, it's 2 mana, which I think, even with the flashback, probably makes it worse in that scenario. But yeah, I think you want the synergies if you're going to play this card.
It feels like a 1/2/5 to me.
I think the bottom end, I think I have it a little bit higher, like a 1/5, because I can see playing this as a 23rd card in a non-synergistic deck. But I wouldn't be happy about it.
Why would you play this when you have 2 creatures in your deck?
Well, I guess that's true, because I shouldn't say I'm unhappy with it, because then I'm already unhappy with my deck if I have all these creatures.
That's true. All right, 1/5/2/5 is the final verdict. Timberland Guide, 2 mana, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Oh, we see this all the time. It's a human scout. I mean, these are usually fine. I'm not excited about this.
That's a reprint from Avacyn Restored.
They help with Coven very nicely.
Exactly. That's the only reason it might be a little better in this set than usual.
2?
Yep.
All right, Tireless Hauler, 4/5 for 5 mana with Vigilance and Daybound. At night, it turns into a Vigilant 6/6.
I dispute that back half of this card having Vigilance. That thing doesn't look very vigilant. It looks like it's just on a rampage.
Yeah. Maybe you could make the argument that it's rampaging forward, but it never gets distracted when it attacks. I don't know. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going forward the whole time. This card is fine. A 4/5 for 4 with Vigilant, I think, is semi at rate on its own, and then it maybe gets just a little bit better-ish.
Yeah. I'm playable, but I'm probably finding better 5-drops.
Agreed. So this is a 2/5, I think, for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right, moving on. We have a Huntsman for 6 mana, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 wolf creature tokens with Daybound. Huh. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, create 2 wolf tokens. And then for 4 mana, target wolf or werewolf fights target creature you don't control. And this is a 7/7 that fights for 4? What is this nonsense?
Yeah, this card's amazing.
Nuts.
It's 10 power and toughness for 6 mana over 3 bodies, or 11 if you get it to come in as a Nightbound.
And then it fights repeatedly and makes more dudes?
Yeah, no, it can't fight.
Why not?
So you need to have some. It's another
it does
target.
say another. Well, whatever.
Which is still fine. I mean, you've got the wolf tokens and it's werewolves. There are a bunch of beefy werewolves.
Or you're just making a lot of 2/2s and then fighting them with whatever's convenient to fight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card's just fantastic.
Hypothetically, if they've got 7 power and toughness spread across a couple of bodies, you could just pay 4 mana, fight the wolf that you made, so that way you can attack with this, making 2 more wolves.
Wait, I'm sorry, I lost you on that one.
7 power across several bodies.
Oh, across several bodies. Yep. Okay,
yeah. So then you eat one of the wolves you made by eating one of their dudes, and then that allows this to attack. You're basically just replacing whatever it is that you fought. Yeah, this card is great. This is just a 5.
Yeah, and this is the type of card where you might play that 4 mana dork. If you have something like this in your deck.
Yes, I could see.
Not just to ramp to 6, but because you want all the extra mana you can for that fight ability.
Yep. Turn the Earth, 1 mana, choose up to 3 target cards in your graveyard, or target cards in graveyards. The owners of those cards shuffle them into their libraries. You gain 2 life with flashback.
I'm not a fan of this.
I like it in the sideboard.
Yeah, in the sideboard it's great. It's just too low impact to play in your main deck.
It's going to be good in long grindy games too. It's like cheap. So if games are going super long, like Selesnya mirror matches and stuff, if you're adding 6 of your best cards back into your deck over a couple of turns, like you're going to be increasing the like ratio of lands to spells like favorably by a lot. And they're just really good spells again, which is just overall making your entire second half of your deck much better. Also, if you're like boarding in things that are very specific, like plummets, in the exact Flyers deck, you're going to get to reuse a lot of those too. But I mean, for the most part, this is just unplayable, but happy to have one in my sideboard.
Yeah, it's good for the sideboard, but that's about it.
Unnatural Growth. Colorless green, 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 green. For an enchantment at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Wait, does that say each creature?
Yes, it does.
Huh. Well, that's a very big werewolf too. Do you see the picture?
Yeah, it's big as a house.
All right, so if I've got 17 creatures playing this card, it's power and toughness. It's not just power. So they just become unkillable. They're just all ginormous.
This card feels really strong. And it feels like in the previous sets, anything that has something like this, it always underperforms. But I don't know if we've ever seen one that does this on both players' combats.
And all of your dudes, not just one. And the werewolves are huge.
You have to have a decent board position for this to be good. Like this, if you just have a bunch of like 1/1s, it's probably okay. They get a bunch of 2/2s. It still might not be that good. But this card is has a very high ceiling.
I feel like it's a 1/3/5.
Yeah. You're gonna also have to. I think that's right, both because of the need for a lot of creatures in your deck, but also just because that's kind of a pain to cast this card. You need to be pretty heavy green.
Yeah, mana dorks, things like that, helpful. But yeah, 4 green is not easy. But it will be really nice when you're like deep in the game and you top deck this, and your opponents are like, yeah, this is sort of like board stally, and then you're just like, not anymore. That's gonna be super fun.
Yeah.
All right. Willow Geist, a 1/1 for 1 with trample. When 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on this. When it dies, you gain life equal to its power. The last part's kind of irrelevant. So the more disturb / flashback you have, the better this is. It seems more constructed playable for me.
Yeah, more disturbed flashback or things like turn the earth or
turn the earth. That's what I was oohing about. We could just like put a bajillion things on it.
Yeah. Things like turn the earth or turn to nature, anything that lets you exile cards from graveyards.
It does say 1 or more, so turn to earth only gives you 1 counter twice, which is like sad news bears, but whatever. This is a 1 with, a build around idea. Yeah,
I think there's going to be a deck like probably blue-green, I would imagine, that would want this.
There's so few I've seen no disturb cards in blue. Or, I'm sorry, in green.
No, there aren't any.
Which makes me think that this is not a thing. If there were some, and you can combine it with either white or blue that had some, then I'm much happier with this. But it's only flashback and disturb, which is pretty minor in green in general, so it's only half your deck that's going to have options. Yeah,
but you don't need to have it happen very often. For if you make this a 1-mana 3/3, that's good value right there. So you don't need to do a lot to make this a decent card.
Well, it means it needs to be a 1/1 on the board for quite a long time. I don't typically like my green creature decks to be sitting there chilling doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you could also just play this on turn 7 and disturb something, and now you've got your disturb card plus a 1-mana 2/2, and then it can keep growing. I don't know. I don't think it's good.
That means on turn 7 you had a disturb card in there you hadn't cast before, and you just like top decked this on with 0 cards. Like most likely I'm gonna have used that already. It's possible, but it seems.
I don't think this card is good, but I don't think it's a 1. I don't think it's unplayable.
All right, Ren and 7. Planeswalker, because the first Ren card was, not enough. 5 mana for 5 loyalty Planeswalker. For +1, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. For 0, put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Create a green Treefolk creature with reach, and this creature's power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control. Okay, that seems good. Return all permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand with an emblem as you have no maximum hand size. Huh. Okay, well, this just makes a 5/5 when it comes into play, and then your opponent then still has to kill this, so this is just a 5 Planeswalker, which is not normal.
Yeah, it's weird that it's a Planeswalker with 4 abilities where only really one of them matters. But that's fine. That's gonna, just like you said, you're gonna make a 5/5. You can plus if they can't deal with it, you plus it once, and then even if you lose it, you minus it again and make another 6 or 7, 6/6 or 7/7.
Yep. Yeah, if you go minus plus minus, I'm still pretty happy with this.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get really, it feels weird if you go like minus plus plus minus. You're never going to get to that last one because milling 4 to add a turn is going to mill you out before you get to the last final thing. You kind of need to be dedicated to doing the -8 the time you play it. You can't really afford to -3. Otherwise, you'll just mill out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
This feels like it's a 5/5 and then 2 7/7s, basically, because it'll go up with it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this just still feels like a 5 to me. It's pretty good. It's likely to, like... I feel like they're going to feel like they need to kill it. So what's going to happen is you're going to make a 5/5. They're going to swing all their stuff at it. You're going to eat a thing. They're going to kill it. And you're still pretty happy with it. It's a really nice 2-for-1 there because you killed their card, got a 5/5 that's going to grow over time. Yeah, it seems really strong.
Yeah, it's interesting that you can really only get 2 activations out of the -3. Because even if this stays around long enough, you've just milled yourself out before you really even get to that third one.
Yep. And then the 0 is pretty non-relevant. So it's high impact in the beginning, but has none of that long value that we typically see with Planeswalkers and Limited.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting card to see how it affects the board state, because you might not actually have to kill it.
No, I don't think you will, but I think people will think they will.
Yeah, agreed, because we're all just used to a Planeswalker coming down and it becoming a sub-game of kill the Planeswalker.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you can just deal with 2 7/7s, great. Leave the dang thing on the board, let them mill themselves out, no problem. But yeah, I think you're going to want to try to kill it before they make the other 5/5, which then you get a card out of it as well, and you're pretty happy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah, like it's a weird makeup for a Planeswalker because we've been seeing weaker Planeswalkers that have these really long game plans, which has lowered their ratings because they don't like get you anything in the beginning. If you're behind, then they do nothing. Whereas this is the total opposite, and it just like fizzles out really fast. And I've never seen a Planeswalker do that.
Agreed.
That's it. Green is done, guys. 58 minutes. We did it. Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you guys so very much for watching. Yanks, thank you for joining us for Green again. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.